If you're ready to take your healing seriously and take your life back from endometriosis, watch this video because we're going to unpack exactly what it takes to get there. All right, welcome to today's episode. In this one, we are going to be unpacking what it means to take your life back from this frickin' disease and actually heal. And yes, we are going to talk a lot about food because that is a major portion of your healing, but so is everything else. Every little thing that you do will mold together into one big thing. And one day you're going to look back and be like, oh my God, this shit actually worked. So little backstory, when I was still in the thick of it, when I was still in pain all the time, I was like a lot of you. I didn't believe that there was hope. I had read stories, and I mean, this was even like 10, 15 years ago. Like, I was reading stories of people that had healed their endo through food. And I was like, yeah, right. Like, it can't be that easy. There's no way. And it is. I'm here to tell you that it is. All these years later, when I finally started taking it seriously and actually doing what needed to be done, I'm here to tell you that it is, in fact, real and it can be that simple. And all you have to do is put in the time and give it your honest effort. And when you take a step backwards because you ate something that you knew you shouldn't have, or whatever it is, don't beat yourself up over it. Yes, it's going to suck in the beginning. In the beginning, when I slipped up and I ate a food that I knew was going to cause a trigger in my body, it happened pretty quickly, like usually instantly, not long after I ate it. And I was in pain, in severe pain for hours or sometimes days after. But now I'm about 3 or 4 years into actually taking this seriously. And I haven't been to the emergency room in years. Years I have not been there for my own pain. I have not had a massive flare up that's lasted longer than I haven't had a massive flare up at all, but any sort of flare up that's lasted longer than like maybe an hour or so in years. And obviously part of that is due to the fact that I did have excision surgery. So that also kind of gave me like a block a window where it was great, but I also kind of took the wrong path and decided that I was invincible and I could do what I want because I started eating all these things and there was no pain because I had no endo or major buildup of endo left in my body. And as time went on, I started to realize that, oh no, this isn't going to work. Like, it's starting to come back and I'm starting to feel the pain again. So anyways, I did have that, which was helpful, but I mean, it also was a kickstart for me to actually take this seriously. Like, I have another chance to do this and do it right and not be tied to my bed for hours and hours and hours or days at a time. And now I can eat the same foods and I can have a whole day of eating junk food and sometimes even a couple days in a row. And I don't have the same reaction that I used to have. And that is all because of the changes that I made in my diet. And so that's what we're going to focus on in this episode, is just the diet aspect of it, because yes, the exercise and everything comes with it, but until you get your diet in check, until your inflammation starts to go down because you're eating the right foods and you cut out the foods that are triggering you, exercising isn't going to do it. And I can say that again from experience, because when I was in pain all of the freaking time, anytime I exercised, one, because I was already trying to work muscles that were extremely tight and extremely exhausted and couldn't keep up with the demands, but I would always end up in a flare up. And didn't matter what I did, how light I worked out, how many days I put in between it, I always had a flare up after every single workout I did. And until I got my diet in check, I was not able to progress in that realm of my life. And now, yes, I love strength training. And yes, I absolutely do recommend it because it does make you feel really good. I'm in a realm right now where I'm just really focused on just building body strength and not using weights or anything like that. I do a lot of yoga because it gives me the ability to stretch as well as strength and all in one. Anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent here. So let's talk about food. So first off, your body has the ability to heal itself, to rid itself of anything you put in it. So you can eat sugar, you can eat gluten, dairy, carbs, whatever it is, doesn't matter, chips. Your body has the ability to rid itself of what doesn't belong, what it doesn't need, and what isn't good for it. The problem comes is when it's in excess. So, especially for those of us living with endometriosis, we have a lot of things in excess that are causing these triggers, right? Because for how many years did you go not knowing that you had endometriosis? For me, I had it ever since I first started getting my periods around 13 years old. I didn't find out I had endometriosis until I was like 21. So I ate gluten and meat and all of these things, dairy, all of these things that were triggering it. I had chips all the time. I was a teenager, right? Like I liked to eat junk food. I was raised, in a family that loved to have family movie nights or family game nights and playing PlayStation and eating chips and dip and like all of these things. And that were affecting me negatively, and I didn't know it. So your body's already having a hard time with this disease because you already have a hormone imbalance, and you probably have a gut imbalance, and you probably have a lot of things that are imbalanced in your system, and it can't keep up with the things that you've been feeding it. So then you go, okay, well, like I know I have endometriosis now. I know these foods affect it. I've cut it all out, but I'm still having problems. It's because one, you're not supporting your detox pathways. Two, if your gut health is not optimal, then again, you're not going to be able to move those things through your system, because going to the bathroom is how we rid our body of the toxins, right? And so if your gut health isn't good enough that you're able to actually go to the bathroom and relieve a decent amount, or if it's not a healthy poop, if they're really hard or if they're really soft or diarrhea, like all of that contributes to the fact that your body's not ridding itself. Now, when it comes to sweating, that's a really good thing. If you can do something in a hot room or go to a sauna, if you are in a place where you can start working out, building up that sweat in your body is also going to help your body to flush out things. Hydration is going to be key when it comes to flushing things out of your body, but be aware that you can overhydrate. Drinking too much water is going to flush out the vitamins and the minerals eventually, meaning that you're going to have more things wrong in your body that you've got to try and fix. So things like celery juice is really hydrating. Lemon water first thing in the morning. If that's really sensitive on your stomach or in your mouth, if you're having issues, then maybe don't do it every day, or find a different thing to do. You got to find what works for you. My favorite thing right now is called Soleil water, and it's literally just Himalayan salt and water. That's all it is. Filtered water, not tap water. And you oversaturate the water, and then you just let it sit. So you stir it all up, you put lots of Himalayan salt, so much that it doesn't actually all dissolve. You'll have some sitting in the bottom. And you let that sit for 12 to 24 hours, so everything kind of settles to the bottom. And then you take a teaspoon, 1 teaspoon in a cup of water, like a bigger cup, 8 ounce, and you chug that on an empty stomach. Or you can just add it to the water you're drinking throughout the day and get that little bit of hydration. And what happens is the Himalayan salt has minerals in it that help your body to carry the hydration to your muscles and not just straight through your body, right? So you're actually getting the hydration you need. And then, of course, if you need to do things like electrolyte drinks, just try to find the healthier options that are not, full of sugar or processed crap. There are some out there. And so just by going to the store and looking at the labels is going to be your best bet. But trying something, getting that hydration up is going to help your body to rid itself of all of the things that it's holding on to that are causing the inflammation. And one of the ways that I like to talk about this is one of my daughters was gluten intolerant when she was little. And when I say gluten intolerant, when I got her tested on a scale of 1 to 10, she was less than a 1. She wasn't even really a half. She was just less than a 1, like less than half. And so it wasn't really a big intolerance for her. However, because it was so built up in her system, she was having severe reactions. And by the time we figured it out, she was projectile puking every single time she had something with gluten in it. And there was an entire month where I probably missed over half of my shifts at work. I was working in an office. I had to take days off at a time because she was constantly sick, constantly puking, we're constantly going to the doctors, who, surprise, surprise, did nothing. And after a month of this, just told, the one guy literally said to me, she probably just has the flu. I might believe that if this had been like a week, but this is a month. And she doesn't puke every day. She only pukes sometimes. So that's when I actually took her to a naturopath. Now, leading up to that, there were plenty of signs and symptoms. So when my second daughter came along and she also ended up having an issue with gluten when she was little, I knew the signs and symptoms before it got to that point, and I was able to cut it out of her diet. And now she's able to have it sometimes because it's not so built up in her system. And some of those signs and symptoms from my first daughter were, it started out with really bad eczema on the tops of her hands, like so bad that this entire part would be raw and just open and almost bloody. And we had to lotion it constantly, and I didn't know what to do. No matter what I did, I couldn't get it to go away. And then eventually it progressed into her getting TMI, but having mucousy bloody poops. And I was going to the doctor for that and going to the hospital because I didn't know what was going on. And they tested her poops, they tested her blood, they did all of these tests and nothing. Oh, nothing's wrong with her. She's fine. Okay, well, clearly this isn't normal, so it's not fine. But again, I got nowhere with it. And then that eventually progressed into her, literally she'd be playing and then go ghost white and lay down on the floor and wouldn't move for hours. She wouldn't even take so much as a popsicle when she was feeling that way. She wouldn't move. It was terrifying, terrifying. And then eventually, as she got older, it progressed into this projectile puking. Now, that is all from just a very minor intolerance to gluten. Minor, not even anywhere near mild or severe, just minor. But it was so built up in her system that she was having these severe reactions every time she ate it. And that's the same thing that is going on in your body. Every single time you eat something and you have a flare up, that is because that food, and I call it a toxin because it's toxic to your body. It's not actually a toxin, but it's a toxin to your body because of what you're going through. And every single time that you have something and you have a flare up, it's because that specific toxin or whatever's in that food is so built up in your system that it can't handle it. And a lot of people on another side of that automatically think to go to an anti-inflammatory diet. And while yes, that can be helpful, inflammation is your body's way of healing. So taking away the inflammation is taking away your body's ability to heal. So yes, of course, you want to go anti-inflammatory a little bit to help with some of the inflammation, especially in the beginning, but it shouldn't be your main course of action. It shouldn't be the thing that you rely on to get you through. What I recommend doing is having a journal. And I will put the link down below, but I do have a PDF that explains in detail why it's good to use, as well as what the prompts are to keep track of, if you would like to go with that. If not, I'm going to explain it here as well. So the elimination diet, when it comes to endo, is something that's very much recommended. And I don't agree with it necessarily because it takes a really long time. You've got to cut out, okay, so I know these foods are the common trigger foods. I'm going to cut them all out. And then I've got to add, give my body time to not be in pain. And then I'm going to add one thing back in and see how that makes me feel. And if it makes you feel good, great. You can instantly move on to the next food. But if it doesn't, then you've got to cut that food out, give your body time to process again, and then add in the next food, right? And then sometimes you take out all these foods, but there's still foods that are triggering you. So you don't actually get to that point where you feel good enough to start adding things back in. And that's because you still don't know what your trigger foods are. So what I recommend doing and what helped me the most is keeping a journal. And in this journal, and it literally can just be on a piece of paper, a loose leaf piece of paper, it honestly doesn't matter. As long as you're kind of keeping a journal, at least 3 days worth, but preferably a week or more for as long as you can keep up with it. What you're going to track is what you eat, what you drink, the times, and how much. And then you're also going to track how you feel throughout the day. So as if you get a flare up, note the time that it happens, note how bad it is. If you suddenly have a crash in energy, note the time, note how tired you are, give little details about it so that you know. Same thing with your mood. If you're having a really good day and then all of a sudden you crash and you're so grumpy, all of it is tied to what you put in your body. And all of it is tied to the endo. So keeping track of those things, because then you're able to go through and you're like, okay, this is the meal that I ate. This was what it was in the meal. You know, these are the basic ingredients. I had a flare up about an hour after that. Something in here is triggering me. So then you're able to go, okay, what in here is triggering me? And if you don't know, if you don't even have an idea, you just cut one thing out. Okay, next time I'm not going to eat this specific thing. See how that makes you feel. Or you can cut them all out, however you want to do it. But it's going to give you a better idea quicker. And obviously, yes, you want to cut out the gluten, the dairy, all of the common triggers of endometriosis, the processed sugars, processed foods, all of those things, right? You want to cut those out, but there's still going to be other things that could trigger your endo outside of what the common triggers are. And so keeping track of that is going to allow you to figure out what those foods are a lot quicker and be able to get to that point where you can start helping your body detox and actually see some results from it because you are no longer putting those foods in your body that it can't handle. Okay. Then you move on to detoxing. So you want to be actively doing this while you are cutting out the trigger foods, while you're figuring them out, because you want to help your body eliminate what's still going in it that's going to trigger it. And there are a couple ways that you can go about doing this. Now, I don't recommend going on any fad cleanse that there is. Like, there's so many out there. You can go to the store, you can buy all of these cleanses. I don't recommend those because those are very extreme usually, and like even the juice cleanses and stuff like that, like it's very extreme and it's not what your body needs. And again, there might be things in there that your body is going to react against. I used to be someone that went and bought the cleanses from the stores too, thinking that they were doing good, but they're really not. And all you need to do is eat the proper foods to support your body so that it can, filter through and get rid of things. But when it comes to elimination, specifically going number 2, you want to just in the beginning help your bowels move along so that you can not be holding on to things. So if you've never done any sort of cleanse before, you can look into the celery juice cleanse. If you've never heard of the medical medium, you can look him up. He's got a lot of cleanses out there, but please keep in mind to do what is best for your body. I did the celery juice cleanse. I could never, ever have done it for as long as he recommends doing it. But I did it the first time. I did it for about 2 weeks. And being completely honest, the first 3 days of it were absolute hell. I couldn't go to the bathroom at all. I was having pain in my side. I figured out after that it was literally my liver trying to like push out all of these toxins all at once. And after about 3 days, I started going to the bathroom and I didn't stop for a couple of days. Like, it was a lot. And then after my body finally ridded itself of everything that I had been holding on to for years and years and years and years and years, they just were normal poops. It was great. And I did it for probably a week after that. And after they started becoming normal, and then I was fine. So, and then I went off of it. Now, what I do now is if I've been really bad with my diet, for longer than a day or two, I will go back to the celery juice cleanse and I'll buy like 2 stalks of it. And then I will just utilize that for a couple of days and then I'm done. But one of my favorite things now is, again, going back to that Soleil water, is Himalayan salt is actually a gentle laxative. So the 1 teaspoon in a cup of water shouldn't do much for you unless you already have diarrhea or something. But if you don't, you can go up to 2 or 3 teaspoons in the same cup of water. And it's just a gentle laxative effect. So it's not crazy. It doesn't make you go like you're never ever going to stop. Again, that's my experience. If you are already having very loose stools or diarrhea, that may not be the case for you, and you may not want to do that. You may want to focus more on fiber. But if you are not, if you're having normal bowel movements or you are constipated, this is a really gentle way to get things moving. Start clearing out the things that are sitting in your body, because when they're sitting in your intestine and you're not going as often, and you're not able to actually rid yourself, they're just getting reabsorbed back into your body. So it's not like your body detoxed it and it's just sitting there. It's getting reabsorbed back into your body. So your body's constantly having to recycle the same toxins over and over and over and over again. Not good, not good. And then you want to start looking at nourishing your food, nourishing your body. So I don't recommend taking supplements on a regular basis, because I believe that we can get a lot of our stuff through food. And there are actually some supplements that if you get it in excess, it can actually be like very detrimental and toxic to your body. So there's certain things that you don't want to have too much of, and such as zinc. Zinc is a big one. But if one of the things that I do like to say, especially when you first start focusing on healing your gut, is to take a probiotic, but take it at night before you go to bed, because your digestive tract slows down. So it actually gives it more time to release into your system before you eliminate anything that didn't get absorbed or anything that wasn't utilized, right? So it'll help to absorb better into your body. It'll do its job a lot better, in my opinion, and of the research that I've done. And that's what I've been doing, is I've been taking it at night, and I notice a bigger difference all around. And then, of course, you're adding in probiotic foods, prebiotic foods. You want to make sure that you're getting enough fiber. You want to make sure that your protein, your carbs, and your fats, you're getting adequate amount of. Fats and carbs are not the enemy, my friends. They are not the enemy. And I'm so tired of people being like, oh, this diet and that diet, and I'm axing out this carbs, no carbs, no carbs. Your body needs carbs to thrive. It needs it to survive. It needs fat to survive. What makes it unhealthy is the type. Are you having carbs in the form of sugars, unhealthy added sugars, or are you having carbs in the form of whole foods? Those are things that matter, right? Whole foods obviously is the right choice, but your body needs that stuff to thrive. So making sure that you're getting a well-rounded diet. Now, if you eat meat and your body can tolerate meat, amazing. But please note that high protein diets are actually not good for your body. So all of these, even bodybuilders, like the amount of protein that they eat is actually really hard on certain organs in your body. So don't go in excess. And, even if you only eat meat, say once or twice a day, and you get your protein from other sources, or take a break here and there, have a day where you don't have any meat and get your protein from a different source, whichever, do what's best for you. And make sure you calculate that your appropriate protein intake for your body and your lifestyle. And then if you are on a plant-based diet, again, making sure that you are getting the complete proteins. So quinoa is the only grain that you can actually get a complete protein out of, that doesn't need anything added to it to make it complete. And a complete protein will give you all 9 essential amino acids that your body cannot produce on its own. They need it to be able to thrive and survive and, build out all the things. And yeah, amino acids do a crap ton for your body, and that will be a whole other video. Don't want to get into it in this one because I could go on forever. But making sure you're getting that. So if you're having things like rice and you're not having meat with it, adding in a bean or legume will make it a complete protein. And then adding, try out different vegetables, try out different fruits. I hated mushrooms my whole life, and I actually love mushrooms now that I am plant-based. And, every once in a while I pick out a new vegetable, something different that I've never cooked before, or, that I've never cooked myself or I've never had. And I add it in and I try it out. And, it's amazing what can happen when you try out new foods. So I'm going to end it there. Key takeaway is start your food journal, tracking your food, your water intake, or your whatever you're drinking, how you feel, times, all of the things. Making sure that you are supporting your detox pathways if you are not going consistently, or you are constipated, making sure that you are doing something to help that process along. And even if you are having diarrhea, the celery juice cleanse has so much fiber in it. And yes, you will have diarrhea at the beginning because it's trying to do a toxin dump, but it will actually harden it back up. So sometimes you have diarrhea because you have so many toxins in your body as well, which is also contributing to that. So there's many, many different factors to it. Making sure that you're supporting your detox pathways, and then start adding in those nourishing foods, the probiotic foods, the prebiotic foods, the fiber, all of the different things that your body needs. And I'm going to leave it there. So I will have a couple links down in the comments below if you guys would like to check them out. One is going to be for that free PDF that I told you about at the beginning, and also a link to my one-on-one coaching if you're ever interested in having support. It is a 3-month coaching program at minimum, and then after that we can go month to month, where I will help you find your trigger foods. I will help you find the foods that are good for you, and I will help you create a lifestyle that is sustainable for you, that will also give you the ability to take your life back from this disease. So feel free to check those out, and I will see you guys in the next video.